talk about Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins right now. The Miami Dolphins with Coach McDaniel, they're 3-15 against teams with a winning record. And it's not all on Coach Mike. I actually like Coach Mike. But I look at the Miami Dolphins right now. I believe that they have reached their ceiling with Tua Tagovailoa. The problem is this. They just gave him a major contract extension. Tua Tagovailoa has dealt with injuries in his career, dating back to college. And it's not ACL injuries. It's not even just a hip injury they suffered in college with Alabama. It's head injuries. One of the worst injuries that you can have at any level. College level, NFL, NBA, whatever sport you're talking about. Concussions are a scary thing to go through. And Tua Tagovailoa has dealt with concussions a lot in his young career. When I look at Tua Tagovailoa, you have all the right pieces. You have Tyreek Hill. You have Devon Achane. You have Raheem Mostert in the backfield. You have Jalen Waddle. And now you have Jonnu Smith, who has been a very good receiving tight end this season. This is the perfect team for him to flourish with because the two big weapons on the outside with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, he's just a big wide receiver basically going across the middle of the field, and especially in the red zone. They have done everything to help out Tua. They brought in better offensive linemen. They brought in another head coach in Mike McDaniel. Remember, Brian Flores was his head coach. They moved off of him. I look at the Dolphins right now. You have good pieces, but in order to win football games, it's not good enough. And obviously that is the case because you're 3-15 against tough, aggressive teams that are above 500. The reason why the Miami Dolphins can't beat teams like the Houston Texans, like how they face today, the reason why they cannot beat teams like the Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not physical enough at the line of scrimmage. And Tua Tagovailoa just isn't good enough against those teams because the offensive line play and because his arm is not strong enough in colder weather conditions. So let's really talk about this. This offensive line has been a problem since Tua has been a rookie. They bring in Teron Armstead. Teron Armstead at the time was a very good tackle for the New Orleans Saints. He was a premier tackle. He's on the back end of his career. He can't stay healthy for a full season. And this offensive line takes a huge dip when he's off the field. Most offensive lines do when they're missing their starting tackles, whether it's a left tackle or even a right tackle. In some cases, when the starting guard goes out, the entire offensive line doesn't look the same. But this offensive line has been a major issue. They can't run the football, which is crazy to think about because just last season, Raheem Mostert averaged 5 yards a carry, had 18 rushing touchdowns, and had 1,012 rushing yards. And Devon Achane, before he suffered that knee injury, he was averaging up to 10 yards a carry. Video game-like numbers. But this season, they can't run the football. Majority of it is because Robert Hunt is no longer with the Miami Dolphins. That was one of the best offensive linemen. He is now with the Carolina Panthers, and he still looks like a top-tier offensive lineman in the NFL. They have not prioritized the offensive line. They have prioritized the skill position, and that's fine to do. But in order to win the NFL, you have to win in the trenches, and the Miami Dolphins just can't do it this season. That's why they're losing to teams that are above 500, and they're beating up on weaker teams in the NFL. The one thing that a lot of bad teams have in common, they can't get to the quarterback on a consistent basis, and they can't go out there and play press man coverage against the Miami Dolphins because of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. We've seen the Buffalo Bills have nice success with this. We saw the Houston Texans today. They had great success with this, and we've seen the Kansas City Chiefs not just once last season, but twice in the regular season and in the NFL playoffs to get aggressive at the line of scrimmage and cause Tua Tagovailoa to go out there and have to make tougher throws. Tua Tagovailoa is not a terrible quarterback. I'm not going to come on here and say he's horrible, he's no good, he's a bottom tier quarterback. But Tua Tagovailoa has benefited a lot from being in a great system with Coach McDaniel and also with the weapons around him. Two things can be true. Tua, solid quarterback, the system that he's in is help elevating him. He's not elevating these players. And we've seen this when Tua has been off the field, it's a completely different offense because Tua is a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, but he doesn't deserve the money that he's getting paid right now. And I don't believe that you will be able to win a Super Bowl with Tua Tagovailoa. That's just my opinion. I also look at Coach McDaniel. I think that he has done a lot of nice things with Tua. He's given him confidence. He's a nice players coach. He's more so of a coordinator than he is a head coach. I do believe in some magical world, if Justin Herbert was with the Miami Dolphins, this team would be a Super Bowl contender every single season. And I know as a Dolphins fan, you may roll your eyes, you may get upset with that statement. Justin Herbert is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa because the arm power, the stature to get outside the pocket, and because he can stay on the field longer than Tua because he's healthier than Tua majority of the time. And Justin Herbert has dealt with his own injuries. And we don't even have to talk about Justin Herbert. I believe any quarterback that has better arm power and the ability to just go out there and just extend the play would help elevate the Miami Dolphins to the next level, even with Coach McDaniel as the head coach. One thing that I noticed, whenever the Miami Dolphins go on the road, they face a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, they face the Green Bay Packers, they don't take too many deep shots down the field. They don't take too many post routes, not too many in cuts, not too many slants across the middle of the field. It's a bunch of out routes and a bunch of passes by the line of scrimmage, a bunch of screens, something that Coach Mike loves to do. A lot of that is because Tua, that arm power doesn't work in bad weather conditions. I've seen Josh Allen go out there when it's snowing, throw the football on the dime. I've seen Patrick Mahomes do that. The same with Joe Burrow. Tua is limited. And it's not all on Tua because of that hip injury they suffered in college. Tua, before he suffered that hip injury, he could throw the football deep down the field on a consistent basis. And I'm not blaming their lack of success all on Tua. I'm not trying to do that in this video because that is unfair. He can't help the fact that he's getting concussed. He can't help the fact that he's limited due to an injury they suffered in college. But those are just the facts. This offensive line is bad, pass protection-wise and also run blocking. This is a quarterback that doesn't have a run game, doesn't have the right pass protection, but we've seen him when the pass protection was solid and when the run game was there. They choked against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I understand it was the fourth coldest game in NFL history. That's football. You have to go out there and adjust and win those games. You're not going to be in a dome every single week. You're not going to play in Miami every single week. You're going to have to go on the road and face a team like the Steelers, possibly face the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that they lost to a couple of years ago. And I'm talking about the Philadelphia Eagles here because they got physical with them at the line of scrimmage. I look at this defense. This defense is not bad. I think they have a lot of good defensive players. I like Anthony Weaver. He's done a very good job this season. The job that he has done has been one of the best jobs in the NFL, coaching-wise. And the reason why I say that, his best pass rusher for majority of this season has been Chop Robinson, a rookie who they just put out there. This is a kid that is still a developmental project. And I do believe that he's going to be a star pass rusher for years to come. This is one of the problems I have with Coach Mike. Bradley Chubb would possibly be in the lineup till this day if you was not playing him against the Baltimore Ravens, another team that they cannot beat because of physicality. He kept Bradley Chubb in that game, and they were down by 30-plus points in the second half, and he tears his ACL. He has yet to play a game this season. Jalen Phillips tore his Achilles last year. Unfortunately, he was able to come back this season. He wasn't able to play much. Unfortunately for him, he hurt his knee. And this is a man that suffered injuries in college. He almost retired from football because of the injuries that he suffered at the college level. So when I look at the Miami Dolphins right now, you have a lot of players that deal with injuries. You have a quarterback that can't get you over the hump. And you have a defensive coordinator. I like Anthony Weaver. I like Coach Vic from last season. The problem with Coach Vic, the players hated his guts. You gave Jalen Ramsey a major contract extension. He's not the same cornerback that he once was. Now, it's not me saying that Jalen Ramsey is a terrible corner. Jalen Ramsey, when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars, when he was with the Los Angeles Rams, you knew for a fact he was going to ice out the number one wide receiver. That's not the case anymore. He's given up some big plays. And I saw that last week to Garrett Wilson. Not a bad corner, still the top cornerback to have in the NFL, but he's not the same cornerback that he once was. And the problem with the Miami Dolphins, when I look at Chris Grier, their general manager, you pushed all your chips in for this season. You brought in veterans like Calais Campbell. You brought in a guy in Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know why they brought him in, but they brought in Odell Beckham Jr., who is no longer with the roster. He wanted to get released. They released him on Monday as I record this video. But you were trying to make a Super Bowl push. But you did not address the backup quarterback position. You still have Skylar Thompson, who has been terrible in the NFL for years. You left Coach Mike to go out there and bring in Tyler Huntley. And I understand that he made a Pro Bowl. Mitch Trubisky was a Pro Bowler. It's not hard to make the Pro Bowl in today's NFL. But you had to bring in Tyler Huntley on short notice because Skylar Thompson got injured. And let's be honest here, he sucks. He's not a good player. So I look at this general manager. I can blame Tua. I can blame Coach Mike. They all deserve blame. I blame him the most because you gave Tua Tagovailoa the contract extension. You didn't go out there. You didn't address the backup quarterback position for when Tua was out for majority of the time in the first half of the season. when he missed those 4 games. And when I look at this situation, those are the games that have really put them behind the 8 ball, because it's a great chance that they will miss the NFL playoffs. They just lost to the Houston Texans. And yet another game, Tua didn't step up in. He had 3 interceptions in this matchup. Just like how he had costly turnovers in the NFL playoffs. And I remember a few years ago when they first made the NFL playoffs with Coach Mike, Tua wasn't able to play due to injury. I don't have a problem with Tua being a starting quarterback in the NFL. I really like Tua. It really pains for me to come on here and say this about him because he's a nice human being. He shows so many good things on the field. But in order for you to win a Super Bowl, this roster is not going to cut it. And I believe this general manager deserves to be fired. Coach McDaniel, I still think the jury is out on him. You bring in a better quarterback, but his job deserves to be on the line also. You can't be 3-15 against winning teams. I'm sorry. At some point, as the head coach, given the pieces that you have to go out there and coach better. You have to find a way to not go out there and call screens for the entire game. Have the same run plays. Have the same motion patterns with Tyreek Hill. Have the same motion patterns with Jalen Waddle. It was a great move to go out there and bring in Jonnu Smith. I give the general manager credit for that. They have gotten little to nothing out of the tight end position before he stepped foot with the Miami Dolphins. But right now, the Dolphins, they're not in a good spot. They're second in their division, and they've lost to the Buffalo Bills not once, but twice this season. And the Miami Dolphins are 6-8 on the year. And to go out there and give more context, that first loss against the Bills was ugly. That's the loss that Tua had the interceptions in that matchup. He got his concussion. He was out for the next couple of games. But the second time they met the Buffalo Bills, Jordan Poyer, unnecessary roughness. It pushes the Buffalo Bills in field goal range. They win that game. We're talking about a different ball game here. Those little situations come back and hurt you when there's only 3 games left in the regular season. Is it a chance that they can still make the NFL playoffs? Sure. But I believe that they will be on the outside looking in because of the injury to Tua Tagovailoa and because of the mismanagement with this roster. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Miami Dolphins, and is Tua Tagovailoa a legit quarterback for the Dolphins moving forward? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.